Lost
What's
copy.
up? What's up?
Welcome, welcome.
Sophia. So so yeah, we're back and it's time for one of my favorites, The Stepfather, 1987, which basically is a showcase for Mr. One Terrence O'Quinn. Green,
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm doing well.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I
Speaking of
know.
Dev. Dude,
Yep.
look at that face.
Yeah, he looks intense for sure. That describes this entire movie basically as
It
intense.
is.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's I mean, it's basically where like rage comes to live. And I want to say about this movie, the premise of it seems so ridiculous where he basically is setting up a new family to kill before he kills the current family, and but it actually happened in real life. It's based off of a real story.
Yeah,
uh
John
john
List.
john List killed his family, buried him under his house. uh he went on to live like peacefully for 30 years under his new identity until America's Most Wanted
Oh,
ran,
Walshy.
yeah, ran a profile on him, and he was caught because of that, which is pretty awesome and fitting
That's
and
awesome.
weird. But that's
John
the
Walsh is the man.
that's the basis of this movie.
Dude,
But
it's crazy because like I remember, well, a lot of things about this, but original take, I remember being like a high school kid and seeing this movie and being like, what did I just watch? And then I saw it like in my 20s and I was like, what did I just watch? And then I saw it over and over again and I was like, dude, what awesomeness is this? Like it just kind of like the more you watch it, and I know it's kind of a cult classic, but the more you find little things that you're like, dude, come on, O'Quinn. You're so sneaky.
oh yeah, there's a new wrinkle each time.
There is. There is. And I mean, basically, people, the simple setup. This guy is like, he basically kills a family, for lack of a better explanation. And you see it in the opening scene. He walks out there already passed, and he's assuming a new identity, which obviously he's already met this lady and, built a foundation with her because cut to now he's the new stepfather and potential stepfather at a new place, and his whole like he's obsessed with like the perfect family and like the white picket fence and like every family needs this, just the way he talks about it like early on without any violence. You're like, what the hell's going on with this guy?
Yeah, you don't get any backstory for why he is absolutely obsessed with being like the all-American white
Yeah,
picket fence person.
right.
He's
You
like he's
just
like
it just is.
he's like yeah. He's like, couldn't you think a little bit more about family? He's like,
Yeah, he's like
because I love killing them. It's like he's like the greatest person to take care of a turkey on the farm before Thanksgiving. It's just like it's like oh no.
Dude, speaking of Thanksgiving, how about the gasset that she wears to the Thanksgiving table? What is that? She's like, pass the peas, old darling. Like, what? That is a weird scene. Anyway, back to Jerry Blake. But, like, dude, yeah, you do never get an explanation. All you see is, like, all right, this guy's crazy. He's obviously killed and he's going to kill again. And he really does keep it together for a while, and then obviously the teenage daughter starts getting suspicious just because he's creepy, you know. And then I think the movie breaks when you have that scene where she goes down and he's at his workbench in the basement and he's just like losing it, and she's like, hi Jerry, hi Jerry, and he's like, oh, what?
Well,
He's like, what?
in
I'm
that
not
scene,
crazy.
in particular, on the rewatch, I the note that I wrote to myself was Punch's photograph.
Yes,
Like
it does.
she is so suspicious that she sends away for the photograph, or like the basically like the
Right.
crime file, the file, the file the detectives had on him.
Remember, this is 87. It could have been microfiche.
Yeah,
You could have been
absolutely.
microfiche.
She had to get the library involved.
Yeah,
Um,
she's like, look, Dewey Decimal,
she's
hook it
like,
up.
this is hard. And so she somehow gets the stuff, but he intercepts it. He goes to the mailbox because it has to come to one place, and he intercepts the photo. It is him, Jerry Blake, looking like
Yep.
his insane bearded self at the start. Um, which you also get a weird glimpse, full frontal of Terry O'Quinn. You're just like,
It's like, dude,
it all
Henry
breaks loose.
Morrison.
It, it all breaks loose right at that start. Like, oh my god!
Yeah, he goes from Henry Morrison to Gerald Blake to Bill Hodgkins in the span of about 95 minutes.
And he also like says a little "what's up" to the neighbor, Bill Hodgkin style, where he's like, "Look," he's like, "How are you doing?" She's like, "I'm
It's like,
doing great,"
oh.
and she's like, "Oh," he's like, he's like, "Your husband must be proud or something," and she's like, "I
He's
don't
like,
have a husband." He's just like, "Hmm."
he's like, well, like Haji.
He's like, "Well," he's like, "I
I'm
know
like,
just what to do."
I think you need the hodgepodge.
He's like, yeah, he's like, I got a couple things for you. I'm gonna insist on family. I'm gonna build a birdhouse. I'm gonna kill you.
He's like, he's like, we go to Applebee's because we're family. He's like, all right, boneless
he,
wing night.
he's
Yeah,
like,
Gerald Blake's there because it's what families do.
family, Gary. Like, so yeah, like he intercepts that photo and goes and replaces him with. I also love the replacement photo of some like
Yeah.
dude out of prison or something like some, some nightmare
It
guy.
is classic. And that's something you don't catch until you watched it 3 or 4 times.
Oh
And then it
man,
sticks with you. And you're like, what is that?
I can't even look at that. But like with the
Oh,
photo that he intercepts, he takes it to the basement, and when he's like raging out, he just starts punching the photo over and over. And he's like, who do you love? And he's like, and yeah, he's just like saying nonsense, and like they kind of try to give you like a little nugget of this is why he's so messed up here,
right. But they don't. Well,
but
although
like
what's funny in that you're sober, that scene is pretty pivotal. But what's funny also is that he like you have no idea, like obviously something hit him there, but it's like her watching it, like her coming down on it and for the first time. Now the second time you see him really change is when, oh dude, Henry Morrison. That's right. That's awesome. Is when the front porch scene where she gets dropped off by the high school kid, and it's not what he says to the kid, which is another story unto itself. It's when the mom's like, "Oh, Jerry, don't you think you're overreacting?" And then they just show a close up, and he's like, "Family."
like
And you're just
overreacting,
like, "Oh my goodness."
underreacting. I
He's
think.
like,
Don't you
"Look at my
think, honey?
face." He's like, "Don't you think you just flipped a switch? Now you made me Bill Hodgkins. Damn it."
Yeah, it's
That
that
it's
that scene in
awesome.
particular because we were watching it. I think the same night, uh, and
You're right,
texting each
right,
other,
right.
and when that high school kid goes to like drop her off on the porch and like and and he runs outside and he's just like he just about raped her.
I know. It's like, geez,
And I was like, whoa, just don't be
it's
afraid to go there.
insane.
Like
Right,
go
right,
right
right,
to the
right.
top. That was
Oh,
the
that's
best.
so funny. You're right, you're right. But no, it's a very good film. It carries a lot of weight in the echelon of it was kind of like a psycho dad film, but it was also a horror film. But it's also a creepy late night B movie. Like it's this weird twist of all three. And what's interesting is the most well known of the actors in this movie was actually Shelley Hack at the time. Like she had done TV and all
Hmm.
kinds of stuff in the early 80s. And O'Quinn was just kind of like this dude, but like he nailed it. And that scene in the basement, I feel like the director just threw the camera on and was like, "Look, Terry, when I say roll, just rage it up.
You like you do it.
Go full Blake." And he's like, and roll film. He's like, make room for daddy. He's just going
He's
crazy.
just like punching the photo. Oh
Oh, it's
man,
so good.
and it's
Anyway, so
well,
the twist comes. The girl, anyway, the girl is finally the one that catches on to him, and then there's this weird kind of side story with this news reporter
well,
from Seattle. Go ahead.
well. I was gonna say Ogilvy. So,
Right, right.
um, so Ogilvy, maybe the worst detective known to man. Um, and the reason he's doing it, and I didn't catch this like the first 100 times I've seen it, uh, was that his sister was married to him in as the first couple, like as the
Oh,
first
he was
murdered family,
the one that got okay,
which is
okay. So
why
he's
Ogilvy just like drifts into that house where there's like blood stains and stuff, and he's like this is mine now, and he's like and
dude,
he
it's
should have just
crazy.
stayed. He should have just stayed there.
Yes, yes.
So
Well, and what about that car he drives?
the car it's
Goes
sweet.
like 90 miles an hour through that city at the end too. It's pretty sweet.
He's like a
Anyway,
he's like they really wanted Ken Wall, but they
dude, it
couldn't
does
afford
look like
him.
Wise Guy.
He does like I've been trying to like place who he looks like or like who
He
he is.
does.
I was
They couldn't get Jake from Jake and the Fat Man, so they went with Wise Guy.
yeah, like
I heard.
so.
Hey, by the way, funny story about this that I do know before you speak. Sorry, man.
Oh no, you're good.
If O'Quinn did not play this role, they were going to give it to Gerald McRaney from Simon and Simon.
Yeah, no doppelganger, man. I mean
I'm so glad
doppelganger.
O'Quinn got it.
Yeah, yeah, he is like. I
Oh
mean,
man.
and you would Delta Burke would have had to like come in somehow.
Yes, good
It
call.
would have been.
It's so funny. But yeah, anyway, I heard that. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna
So
say.
Ogilvy,
Well, an aside, like I feel like the mom, like you said, she was the most like acclaimed, probably actor.
like
Uh,
face you
uh,
knew, but I
but
didn't. But
like I don't know that she was, but I feel like she dated like Mr. Drummond in an episode or something of like Different
exactly.
Strokes,
She was always in that.
you
She's yeah,
know,
yep,
that kind of thing.
exactly.
Um, so like Ogilvy, long story short, tracks down the stepfather, runs inside, and for the first time ever, bringing a gun to a knife fight doesn't work because he doesn't take the gun out of his jacket.
Oh, out of his
You
flight jacket, his members only.
You're right, and he doesn't shoot through it either. He
It's like
just
from
gets
the
like
kid. That jacket's from the Kip Tobin collection.
I know. Shout out to Kip. Um,
He's like I'm gonna go have a grit in this jacket. All right.
but yeah, like he just like Ogilvy like finally finds him, runs inside someone's house, it's not his house, and gets killed immediately. It's pretty bad. Um,
That's
I was just
because
thinking the
he's
whole time.
O'Quinn's, but it's good because O'Quinn's hiding behind the door, and you know he is, but you don't care because as soon as the door shuts, he's like, "How you doing, Jim?" It's just like, jeez, like this guy doesn't stop. He doesn't stop.
He doesn't. And
He almost gets a sled to the head.
oh,
Sled
I
head.
know.
That's
I
close.
I noticed that too.
That was
I noticed that
close. I wonder if that was really him or a stunt double because that blade, like,
came right through.
dude. Anyway, no. Oh, for if you're just joining us, Ogilvy's the detective that is out for revenge because the guy that plays, Gerald Blake was involved with someone in his family, and we're just talking about how ridiculous it is because he doesn't look like a detective at all. He drives some weird car and he's wearing like a leather jacket and like some Dunlops. He's wearing some Dunlops. It's like really, really or like like a Diodora size one size too small, and he's like you said, but it's just an odd casting choice. That's the only part of the movie that's weird to me. But luckily, they make it very limited, and it's mostly about O'Quinn.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah, and yeah, and Ogilvy's wearing Voights. No,
that's what I was thinking of. There you go. Not Dunlop. Good call. You're right. It's
joking,
Voight's.
joking.
Either that or well, he could have been wearing that. Maybe some spot built.
Dude, that's some old school
Dude,
right
that's
there.
spot built.
That
That's like the softball coach's shorts.
but yeah, like so the other person I wanted to bring up, other side person is Dr. Durand.
Oh, Dr. D.
Man,
He's like, you do need to question it. Maybe you need to question it.
and she's just like she's like, I just feel like not caring at all. And he's like, go ahead, don't care.
Yeah,
Here's a curveball.
she's like, I just want to run away. He's like, sometimes that's the best thing we can do.
He's like,
It's like,
I know.
what?
Nice,
She's
nice.
like, really?
Oh, I know with
Oh,
the curveball advice, and then he does maybe my favorite moment in the movie where he's gonna impersonate somebody going
oh,
to
the home
look for
buyer,
the home buyer because
right?
Gerald Blake is a
A
realtor,
realtor.
I guess. Like, yeah. Um, but so he goes and makes the fake appointment,
Because
and then
because he's on to him. Like he thinks he
yeah,
knows what's up with this dude. So he plays someone else and is like, I'll go find out what's up with this dude because this client of mine thinks he's crazy. Anyway, so cut to house scene. By the way, which is that's when that scene, that's when stuff gets gory.
oh
When he
yeah,
off when he you're like, holy, this took a turn. Like it goes from campy B movie to like, whoa.
yeah. He gets scary in it, and when he starts hitting the doctor with the 2x4, the guy's like,
Oh,
at first he's like, "Ow,
yeah, yeah.
ow."
Yeah. It's like, what is that? He's like, no, this is real, dude.
Yeah, and then he just like and then he gets like run upside the head, and then it's just like he's not like
Dr.
Jerry, what are
D.
you doing? He's just like, oh shit, and then and then he kills him with no plan, but it just so happens that there's just like a gigantic roll of carpet right
Oh,
there
I know.
in the
Isn't that
house.
awesome? And he's
It's
like,
like
oh. He's like,
he's
let's
like,
do
man,
it.
he's like, I killed this guy on all this parchment paper
He's like, damn it.
that just happened to be laying here.
He's like, make it 350.
So
It's 10 minutes.
so that was pretty great. And
That scene turned because that's when you saw him get violent with a human. Like before it was implied and you knew it happened, but you never saw it happen until that scene where he took out that dude, you know. And then, anyway, fast forward a little bit. So this family, like obviously she's doesn't like him at first, then the mom gets her to come around, and then as soon as that happens, that boy drops her off and is trying to kiss her on the front porch, blah blah blah, and he goes bananas, and that's when she's like, well, we just lost her again, we did all that work and it was for nothing. And she's kind of right at that time, but after that is when you're kind of like, okay, which way is this going? Because that's the first time you see him like, all right, look, you just crossed the family line, and you see it in his face. Like to me, it's his facial expressions in this movie that tell the story. It's not his dialogue. Like in the close-ups, although this director never did anything else again, basically, of his face are so well done because it tells a lot. Like it tells a lot
oh
about
yeah,
what's going
oh
on,
yeah.
and he didn't have to say a damn word. But anyway, after that scene and then the Thanksgiving, it's just like I don't know. The last 20 minutes to me is just a fever dream of like O'Quinn. Just great. And he's wearing a pink Oxford.
Oh, I know. And he spends half of it, and he's like blood stained, and he's running around with a knife,
Yep.
and
Well, before that though, when he comes home and she's on to him. She calls the office and they're like, "Oh, he hasn't worked here in a couple of weeks." And he comes home and he's not aware that she knows that he's been like setting up another life and not telling her. And he's like,
why
"Oh,
would she?
He's like yeah, like that secretary of mine. She can't remember a darn thing. How hard is it? It's Hodgkin's."
He's
And
like,
she's
God,
like,
that dingbat, I should get her fired.
yeah, she's like, she's terrible. She can't remember a darn thing. It's so well done though. And she's like, what did you just say? And he's like, Hodgkins. She's like, wait a minute. And he's like, wait a minute.
Oh yeah,
Who
yeah.
am I here? Like that line. Oh man.
Uh,
So good.
that's
So good.
the pivotal scene in it where she's like, Jerry
Yep.
Blake, and he's like, that's right, Jerry Blake. thanks, honey. Boom.
Boom,
And he
phone.
hits her with the corded phone, um, which was just like the first time I
Dude,
saw
his
that, I did not expect that, right? Like that was like
no.
you don't expect it. So that's definitely jump scare style. And yeah, that's I love that scene just because she's so earnest about it. She's like, Jerry, like she's trying to help
Yeah.
him. And
He's
he
like,
just
thanks, honey.
and then he just is like, well, this is where I just let go of this. Like I
Like
just
I
let
keys.
I'm just like letting go of the balloon. Sorry, I can't hold it any longer. And he's like, it's just completely done now.
I
So
should
like
get that lady fired. That dingbat. It's Hodgkins.
so he hits her, knocks her down the stairs, kills her, supposedly,
Right.
obviously, and
Then goes
then
after the daughter.
the daughter who's showering in the gratuitous shower scene that
And
probably
then
didn't need to
Jim comes
happen.
over, gets offed.
Yeah, yeah,
Like he
yeah.
does he get there the whole movie he's chasing this guy.
Ogilvy.
He gets there and in 10 seconds he gets knifed and twisted.
Poor Ogilvy. Yeah, he runs right inside, misses him, turns around, tries to dig out his gun,
Yeah,
gets stabbed right in the heart, and he's just like, "Oh man!"
he's like I shouldn't have worn this bomber jacket.
Like he's like, "This is how it ends." And and yeah, and then makes it up to the stairs. There's the. It's really intense when he's like battling with the daughter, and
Oh yeah.
you
Well,
think
right. Well,
that
first of all, when he's at the bathroom door and she comes walking down the hall like drying her hair because she's not aware of anything at that point. And he looks at her and he's got blood all over him and he goes, "Hi, honey." It's like,
yeah,
what?
he's so bad.
What? That's creep factor. That's why the creep factor on this is going to be high
Oh yeah, yeah. I have to
simply because
pull.
of O'Quinn's performance.
Let me pull that up.
No, it's really well done. The thing about this too is, unlike some of the movies we've done here, there's not a lot of side players at all. So, like picking like sickies and side players is not as easy. But there's definitely, I think Ogilvy fits the bill. You know, um, overall though, it's funny because the girl that played the daughter never wanted to do anything else. Like, did you see her in anything else? Jill Schoelen?
Did I?
Because I didn't. I mean, I've never IMDb'd her, I'll be honest, but I've never seen her act in another film, just The Stepfather. That
Yeah,
is
I
it.
don't because I was trying to think if she was in
Because she wasn't in Stepfather 2.
if
That
she
was
was in
Meg
Christine
Foster.
or something, but I
She,
think
well,
it's
maybe.
but I've seen her maybe in like one, but nothing memorable, obviously. So
Right. Well, speaking of that, they did make a sequel and he was in it. And it's not as good as the original, but it's still got some very memorable parts. And then they made a third one with another actor, and it's not good. Coincidentally, they remade this in 2009 with Dylan Walsh, and a lot of actors you would know, but it just wasn't as well done. I mean, it didn't have the camp that this one had, or the performance. There's the pink Oxford.
oh
That's what I'm
yeah.
talking
Let me
about.
get
He's like
out of the
he's like
way here.
he's like hi, honey. It's hilarious.
Um
Anyway.
yeah, my I didn't the list is not pulling up,
Oh,
so
that's all right. I got it in front of me. So anyway, top five on this one. And then we'll take a sneak peek at next week, which we're finally going to change genres on you for once. So the creep factor on this, it's really a subtle creep factor, like I said, until that last 25 minutes where it's just bombastically creepy. And so it goes from like a 5 to a 9. It's like a swooping creep factor for me. Make sense?
yeah, yeah, it's definitely a rolling creep factor.
It is.
Um yeah, it's high up there for me. I would say like, it's a if it, out of a scale of 10, like it'd be a 9.
I'm
Um,
with you.
just because Terry O'Quinn just it, he does get unsettling. Like there are moments like when he's looking at the camera, it is like pretty unsettling,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
and I think that's pretty. pretty
And
special.
and he
So
continues that in the second one as well. But even the beginning part with the beard, like just the way he changes one at the end with the hairpiece, I don't know. Him alone is worth like an 8.5. Second on our top five is a weird one this week because we always talked about the director's echelon, and the guy that directed this, what was it, Joseph Ruben? Like he didn't really do much. It's kind of like when Ted Kotcheff directed First Blood. It's like, who's Ted Kotcheff?
yeah,
It's like, but
he,
he's like, well, but he did First Blood, which is the greatest thing maybe of 1982. So,
it says
or the guy that did Revenge of the Nerds, like what did he ever do again?
well he did what was it The Good Son
Okay.
and
Was Macaulay Culkin?
Macaulay Culkin, and he did
Yep, yep.
Dreamscape with
Ah,
Dennis Quaid
with Quaid. I
and
believe that was the first PG-13 film. I
yeah.
could be wrong. I
Well,
could be
and it
wrong.
also had what's his name Sully from Commando. Um
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The little guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
from the Warriors.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah, he's definitely all-time sidekick though.
David something or other.
Yeah, yeah, I can't think of it.
Um
But
but
yeah, I did not know he did The Good Son. That's not a bad little creep movie. I believe that's 93. Culkin. It's got Elijah Wood. Yep, I've seen
yeah,
it.
yeah,
90.
93. Yep. So,
Yeah,
and also the most notable one
that's without Google, people.
is Sleeping with the Enemy.
Ah,
So Patrick
okay.
Bergen,
Yeah,
Julia
oh, creep,
Roberts, and
creep.
whatever that guy was that really wanted to be Paul Rudd or Mark
Oh, the
Ruffalo.
curly haired guy, he's like,
Yeah.
when you're a jet, you're a jet. And she's just like, well, should I like this guy? He's like, look, I directed three versions of Guys and Dolls. Let's get together.
He's like, look, he's like, I hope you like
It's
Brigadine.
like, he's like, and three, two, one, let's go.
Yeah, and he's just like, yeah, like you're not too sad when that guy dies. Um,
No, how do we get on the sidetrack of Kevin Anderson from Pax or the guy that plays the weird theater guy in Sleeping with the Enemy?
nice, nice. Cool. It is directed by
Oh,
Joseph
coming up
Ruben.
next, top five Sean Bean films. Just kidding. Green's like idea.
It's like, all right,
Sean Bean.
filed away.
Oh,
Uh,
Patriot Games numero uno. All right,
uh,
go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, so,
Oh, side players.
yeah, yeah, side
Side
players.
players. Ogilvy.
I
Have you ever
mean,
seen Ogilvy in another movie? Or
no,
Jill Schoelen? I mean, let's be honest. It's the O'Quinn show, and it's awesome.
and it's
I never saw Dr. Duran in another movie. Now, in the second one, it's Meg Foster, and ironically, it's Jonathan Brandis plays the kid from
ooh,
uh from what's that show he was on? You know what I'm talking about.
Sequest.
Yes, it's that kid. He
Wasn't he?
plays the little kid.
Wasn't he also in like Three Ninjas or
Yes,
or
exactly. Those early
Sidekicks or
early
something?
90s movies where it was like Jonathan Lipnicki and everyone else. It's like, did you know bees made honey? It's like, oh geez. Oh man,
Lip
Lipnick.
Nicky.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's just weird because that you know who Meg Foster is. She's got those weird beady eyes with the red hair. She was in Osterman Weekend.
oh yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about.
Yep, yep.
Yep, that movie's creep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a nice reference. Uh,
Anyway, but in
oh,
here, like the only side player is really Ogilvy and Dr. Duran because everybody else is just like it's really just about them three. They do have that one scene where they have like the family barbecue, and he's like, "I just want to know everybody know how lucky I am to be this family."
he's like,
Did
yeah,
I mention I'm in a family?
he's like, I just erected my birdhouse. Uh,
He's like, "Look," he's like, "I'm gonna cut my lawn and say hi to my neighbor Jim." It's like, all right, sounds great.
and then what's the last one?
Oh, that one scene.
Oh, that one scene. What's
Is
that
it?
one
I mean,
scene for you?
I don't know. For me, I think it's so hard because there's so many good ones, but it has to be when she's like, wait, at the end where she's like, wait a minute, Jerry, and he's like, Wait a minute. Who am I here? That whole "who am I here" transition with the phone, it gets me every time. I mean, there's a lot I could pick, including the
Oh,
workbench scene or the teenager drop off scene. I mean, but the "who am I here" scene for me, that's that one scene. Gets
I'm
me every time, man.
I'm gonna start with my close second scene, which would be the very opening scene where he
Oh.
shaves and cleans himself up and puts himself in a disguise. And you're like, what's going on? And then he walks down the stairs over like strewn dead bodies
Yep. He's
everywhere.
like, "Oh, bye,
He's like
guys."
he's like hangs up the phone, like arranges some stuff, and then he
Yep.
leaves.
He's like,
Um,
"Oh, turn off the beef stroganoff. I'll be home by
you're
6."
just like, wow, the stepfather's getting real right away. But I think my favorite scene after watching it a second time is definitely the punching the photograph scene
Oh, I would
down in the
agree.
basement, where he's like,
I would
what
agree.
is this what you want? Oh, is this what, who am
It
I?
comes out of it
I'm just
comes
like,
out of
what's
nowhere.
happening?
It does. It comes out of nowhere because up to then you're just like, this guy's obsessed with family, and we know he did bad things, but we don't know where this is going. But oh, wait a minute, there it is, the rager. I'm down with it, man. That's a great call.
It's so
Great
good.
call.
It's so good.
Anyway, my trust rate on this, look, when it comes to Halloween movies, I'm not really a slasher guy. So I always tell people, like, they're like, what are some movies I could watch that are scary that I haven't seen before? You know, the novice film dude, the workplace film guy that's looking for Rex. You're like, all right, look, you're like, look, I go to 4 films, people. I go to The Stepfather, I go to The Hitcher, I go to the original Poltergeist because it gets me every damn
That's a good
time.
call. That's a good
And
call.
then from there it wavers depending on the season because see, I'm one of those rare people that likes Halloween 2 in the hospital just as much as
Mm,
Halloween 1. And like that movie had an impact on me, like when I was a kid, just something about being confined in a hospital. Like every time I'm in a
mhm.
hospital, I think of that movie. So for me, like I mentioned something mainstream like that, but then I go into like 3 other ones that I'm like, you need to see these movies. And people that have taken me up on it and have watched this movie are like, oh my gosh, who's that guy Terry O'Quinn? I'm like, I told you. So trust rating for me is high because when I recommend it, people usually dig it.
Yeah, yeah. Mine's a high trust rating too, just because it's so much fun to watch. It's so crazy, and like now it's like watching a time capsule too, like
It
in
is.
of the '80s. So
It's
it's
a
got that
great call.
time capsule aspect to it, and then and the fact that it's based off of a true story is pretty wild too. So like now that I know that aspect, it always makes it a little bit more wild to watch. Like, oh my
It,
gosh, like I wonder if John List did this.
right, but I
um,
think him, and that's a great, well, good point. But I think like any other movie, like the time, like I said, even with The Hitcher, like with Rutger Hauer, like it's all about that performance, like that Gonzo performance that you didn't see coming from an unknown, that happens in little, you know, B movies like this that are low budget. That you can hit a home run because what do you have to lose? And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure many times the director's like, look, O'Quinn, just you know what to do, Blake it up. Blake it up, like woof it.
Whoop it.
Woof it.
Whoop it.
Like Teen Wolf. He's like, Blake it, more Jerry. Come on, Blake it.
Well, I definitely love this movie and would recommend it to everybody, like you said.
No
And
doubt. Lost Copy says, let's go. By the way, we're doing a comedy next. We're
yep.
changing gears and we're going to, I'll let Green introduce it, but we're going to a director that I really liked early on. And then it's kind of like you too for me, the band. Like later on, I'm like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Anyway, we'll get to it, Steve Zissou. But Green, what are we doing next?
we are doing Bottle Rocket by Wes
Let's
Anderson,
go.
and
Let's go.
we are pretty excited about that. So that's coming
One of
up
the few,
next.
hey, one of the few movies to feature all 3 Wilson brothers, by the way.
Yes, yes.
I think I could be wrong. There's probably 7, and I'm speaking out of turn, but whatever.
and
We'll go
and
with it.
and it has James Caan, and he's amazing as always, like the esteemed James Caan, and yeah, it's that's one of our favorite films. We saw that together. I think the first time we ever saw the
Yeah,
movie,
94.
and I think we've been quoting it ever since too.
Oh, it's
So
so good.
highly
It's got so many
quotable,
parts.
highly quotable, and so many amazing parts. So looking forward to doing
Oh,
that one for you
if
guys.
you're worried, by the way, if you're worried it's from Wes Anderson, this is not your Moonrise Kingdom, people. All right. This isn't Darjeeling Limited.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is his first
This is
one.
this is much different than anything he's done. Anyway, uh great time as always. Lost Copy episode. What was this, episode 4 now?
Episode 4. And thanks for
Yeah.
listening. You can catch us on lostcopy.com or lostcopypodcast.com, Lost Copy Podcast on Facebook,
Spotify.
Instagram, Spotify, all that good stuff. So thanks for listening.
Peace. All right, nice.
Yeah.
Did you stop it? Nice. That was actually probably our best one run take. Look,